I write this story in remembrance of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius that happened 1 year ago on this very day. I sit, writing in the study of my fine house in the outskirts of Naples. My children are playing in the streets, and my wife is inside. All is well in my family. But back to the story of Pompeii. It was a fine morning in late summer. I ate my breakfast and went about my business as usual, not troubled by the minor tremors that had been going on for several days. Quakes of that scale were common in Pompeii, and I didn't consider them a threat. The earth had been shaking periodically ever since the quake 17 years before. I thought they were not dangerous. Oh, how wrong I was. I was just settling down to a leisurely lunch at my house, near the Herculaneum Gate, alongside my wife and 2 children, a son and a daughter, ages 7 and 12. Suddenly, I heard a loud sound. Startled, I went out in the street to find the rest of the town looking toward Mount Vesuvius. Looking north like the rest of them, I saw a huge plume of dark, thick smoke rising from the mountain. The street was filled with the sounds of panic, people screaming, plates breaking, dogs barking. I took my family inside to make a decision in the peace of my house. My son huddled close to his mother while my daughter was slowly edging closer to the windows, curious. I decided to take another look outside. Telling my family to stay inside, I opened the door and entered chaos. Despite spotting an acquaintance of mine, I grabbed him and asked if he knew what was going on. "The mountain! Smoke and fire are pouring from it. Run while you still can," he responded. And with that unnerving statement, he wrenched himself from my grasp and continued his run to the harbor. I made my decision and went inside to speak to my wife. "Take the kids and go to the port. Get Marcus and tell him he can pay for his debt to Augustus if he takes you out of the city on his boat," I told her. She left with the kids, all 3 looking back, fearfully. I watched them go, wondering if I would ever see them again. A loud crash reminded me of the situation. I sprinted towards the city center, near the Stabian Gate, going as fast as I could to help others. By the time I reached my destination, the ash was heavy on the ground, about a foot high, and it restricted movement. It also filled the air, dramatically decreasing visibility. Covering my mouth and nose with a part of my sleeve, I entered the closest house. The roof had partially collapsed, and I was about to leave when I heard a scared whimper behind me. Quickly turning, I searched the villa until I reached the back bedroom where I found a small boy, maybe 3 or 4, huddled next to his unconscious father. A quick shake revived the man who had been clipped by a falling roof beam. Yelling over the ever-increasing sound of Mount Vesuvius, I told him, "I got the kid, just come with me." I picked up the little boy, and with his father following, headed towards the marine gate, which led towards the port. My plan was to put the father and his son on a boat, then go back to help others. By this time, ash had filled the air, blocking out the sun, but there was still light, eerily supplied by the flames that appeared to be running down the mountain. The streets were still thronged with people. Many were carrying their possessions, their valuables, while others had abandoned everything. Their only goal was to save their own lives. Gold jewelry is no protection from fire. Eventually, after a prolonged struggle, we reached the port. I put the father and son aboard a crowded boat and turned back towards the city, looking to see what was happening to Pompeii. A terrifying scene greeted my eyes. Dark clouds of death were covering the city, while an endless stream of fire, ash, and rocks plumed out of the mountain, eventually falling on my city. I ran back into the town. Many of the houses I entered were still occupied by families who refused to leave. Whether due to terror or stubbornness, I could not tell. Eventually, I realized that any survivors were buried too deep beneath the ruins of their houses for anyone to reach them. At this point, the ash was waist deep in places, and the temperature was similar to that of a scorching summer day, despite it being a relatively cool day in late August. I decided I'd done all I could, and thinking of my family, I decided to leave. I struggled to make it to the harbor. I was stopped by fires, collapsing houses, and the shrieks of the dying. At the port, I scrambled aboard one of the few remaining ships, a merchant ship that looked distinctly worse for wear. It was overflowing with people escaping the city. The captain, after looking around for others, gave the order. "Go, go, go! Get out of here!" he yelled to his crew. Everyone not occupied with caring for the wounded, keeping the boat afloat, was watching our city disappear beneath a layer of ash and rubble. The top of Mount Vesuvius was gone, replaced by a seething combination of flames and darkness. That was the last time I saw Pompeii, while leaving it on a boat crowded with wide-eyed, staring refugees. It is at this point my memory grows hazy, and I will end my story there, but suffice it to say, I was one of the lucky ones. I may have lost my home and all my belongings, but at least my family and I survived.